this episode of the Byron podcast, I get to sit down with my good longtime friend, Tim Macy. Tim actually has over 1,000 agents in his real brokerage downline. We make him pitch, myself and Toole, who jumped in on the pod, pitch us the value of real brokerage. You've heard about EXP, you've heard about real. What's the real value behind it? But we talk about a lot more than just that. Tim is so giving to this industry, right? He has helped so many people. He's one of the most likable people in the industry. He's got so much video knowledge. And we talk about, we're sitting here at T360 Summit. We talk about all the CEOs, all the different things swirling around our industry. This one is jam-packed with a lot of information. If you love real estate, if you love our industry, you definitely want to listen to this one all the way through. He does that pitch at the end of the pod, by the way. Make sure when you get to the end of the pod, you subscribe to this channel, the Broke Agent Media channel. Also, at the end of the pod, check out the link to Sisu below. Sisu, on average, is increasing teams' annual volume by 107%. And for single agents, it's 28%. Talk about automating your business. This is what Sisu does. I own the #1 team in Connecticut, and we run everything off of Sisu. Transact online. Forget about 20 different logins. Do everything on Sisu. You want to hit the link below after this pod and check it out. See if it's the right fit for you and your business. If anything else, it's going to keep you organized, help you with that whole transaction department of your business. Think about the automation that you're lacking right now. Check out Sisu to solve that problem. All right, Tim, appreciate you coming on the pod, man. You are someone who owns by agent count over 30% of your brokerage. We're going to get
jump
into.
in. I'm surprised he made it to the right hotel room. I mean, that's impressive that he
That's
actually
right.
instead of going to the wrong hotel.
We're in Tim's hometown of San Antonio, and we're at the T360 Summit. 16 CEOs back to back to back talking about the industry. It's at this really swanky resort, La Cantera, up in the, what do you call it, the hills?
It's the hill country.
The hill country of San Antonio. Yeah. And Tim goes 20 minutes away to the JW.
Which is also one of the nicest hotels. I thought that's where they were having it. I messed up. I got to be honest. So, like,
you were
Katie
at this
Day would be
hotel and
crushing
left.
you.
Listen.
You were at this hotel and left.
No, I was at the little, we have a listing right around here. So I was over here in the area and then left. But it's funny. It's like we've been friends for years, right?
Yeah.
And Tom, like, I haven't spent as much time with you, but like I've known you for a while. And so like this is a podcast I should feel very comfortable coming on.
Of course.
But watching your other podcast, seeing how you just like come at people, I'm a little nervous, like I don't feel as comfortable as I should.
You were in the room lurking. Anybody that saw the Nick Bailey pod.
Yeah.
Nick Bailey's going to go up before this one, right? Bigger name, so definitely.
Yeah.
So Nick Bailey, CEO of all of RE/MAX, you were in the room when me and Tom were talking to Nick. You thought I came at him?
So the thing I loved about your interview was that you came at him, and that was great, because when you asked him like, hey, what do you do with EXP and these other brokerages, like that's not a question most hosts would ask the CEO of RE/MAX.
People are asking very vanilla questions.
Yeah.
And I'd like to even see here with the 16 CEOs. First of all, Stefan, T360, they do a great job. I love what they're doing. I would like to see a little bit more, just me personally, and maybe 90% of the audience would disagree with me on this. I'm just talking from my perspective. I'd love to see a little more of a panel debate style on some of these big issues in the industry that are happening. Everybody is giving it from their perspective, and they've got a style, and I love it. But there's not enough willingness really in this country to begin with, not just our industry, to have great debates. And I'm all about it. I'm all about debates.
I've seen Stefan in the past.
That's why I push a little bit.
He asked, was the Ryan Schneider, the Realogy CEO, a couple years ago when Realogy's stock price was in the toilet. He asked him in San Diego, hey, tell me about your stock price. Yes. That was one of the better questions. And I think we did hear some of the CEOs, actually. Gino said a couple things, which I really liked, like Compass just bought agents, which a lot of people wouldn't say out in public, but that's what happened. So I think there is a little edginess here. I mean, do you think the pandemic has anything to do with it? This is the first time back, and people are maybe trying to be on their best behavior, because judging from the last time we were here 2 or 3 years ago in 2019 versus now, I do agree it's a little less edgy than the question Stefan was asking in 2019.
But I think that frames up why I get nervous coming on here. I'm like, what are you going to ask me? Like, what are you going to come at me
Well, we're going to
about?
make you pitch real brokerage value in
Okay.
real time later on the pod.
No pun intended.
You know, so for anybody who's, you know, looked at that EXP model or the real brokerage model, they can't quite wrap their mind around the value. We're going to make Tim Macy, who's been EXP
Yes.
from the early days of EXP, left EXP, went to real brokerage, has literally over 30% of the agents in his downline. Is downline the appropriate word? I always use that. But,
Yeah,
you know, I think that's the way it's got to be.
Sure.
People can understand it.
Climbing the pyramid would also work, right?
at lunch, I wish we should have taken a photo and put it up on the pod if you're watching on YouTube. Tom took a great description of the pyramid that is real or EXP. He took a fork, a knife, and a spoon, and he just made a triangle.
I made a pyramid.
You know,
Yes.
pyramid.
Yeah.
There's a reason why I did that. So this is a
because I couldn't understand it, and then after that, I
click.
Well,
right?
look, I mean, we're all from the
It's all
Northeast,
easy.
right?
So you guys know
Yeah.
Brian Colhane, right?
yeah.
So we met him in 2019. I met Eric Crumbaker and Carrie White of the agency, their wedding
Yeah.
California agents.
at the Fairmount in Santa Monica, and Brian Colhane's there. And we had hung out with him a fair amount at that 2019 T3 summit. So I go up to say hi to him.
You obviously know Brian.
Yeah.
He hangs out with Grant
I mean,
Cardone all the time.
I don't like know him, but I know who you're talking about.
So Brian is, I guess, the second person ever at EXP. with Glenn.
number 3, I think it was.
Number
I think
two
he was
or
second
three?
or third.
The story always changes.
And now he hangs out with Grant Cardone.
So he would
all
be
the
at the
time
top of
on
the
his
pyramid
Instagram.
if we talk. But I go up to say hi to him. He blows me off. And then we walk by the conference room, and I literally see him open up the TV in the conference room. And the Fairmount's a pretty nice place. And literally on the screen was a pyramid. You can't even make this up. And I was with Robert Mack and some other people we know, and I said, that's an EXP presentation. They're like, no. And I'm like, yes. And I showed them who it was, and they're like, you have got to be kidding me.
Anybody listening or watching, I love so many people at EXP and Real, and I have nothing against them. We're just kind of joking around.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say.
Wanna
We're all
make
from the
that clear.
Northeast. And so you guys have been busting my balls since I showed up, which I gave
Yes.
you some ammo for.
Taking us to a horrendous restaurant
The
was
Chuck E.
enough
Cheese
ammo.
of steakhouse.
So I take all that and the pyramid stuff. I tell it because that's how we communicate love.
Yeah.
Being from
That
the
is
Northeast.
true. That
And
is
it's
The
true.
harder, like if you guys were super nice to me, I would worry.
And it's less than
It
what
wouldn't
Katie,
be nice if we just wouldn't talk to you. Is what
Yeah,
would happen.
there you go.
It's
Yeah.
less than what Katie Day gives you on a daily basis. So you know,
That's
she's,
true.
She's always
I
sticking
feel like
with
it's
you.
like my world is just surrounded by people that give me a hard time, and maybe that's how I stay humble.
Yeah.
You know? I'd like to think I'm pretty humble.
Yeah, well, you take it.
Maybe.
So that maybe that's why you've got 35% of Real in your downline. But
That's like your line for the whole week.
well, because it's
You
true.
said that to Nick Bailey maybe 10 times.
I know.
Nick, I think he was getting a little annoyed
He
with
was
it.
annoyed
He
with
was.
He was getting
He was
annoyed
too
with
nice
that.
of a guy. I mean,
Nick,
he's
Nick
a
was
very
a
nice
great guy. Well, I like to going back to that push thing. I think people that don't know my personality sometimes, Tim,
Yeah.
will be like, "Wow, he's he's a
jerk.
dick."
Yeah, you got a vibe.
Yeah.
You got a vibe.
Do a lot of people say that to you?
So
About
it's
me?
interesting
I
because
have no vibe. I don't know about you. The
so
vibe with me
Byron
is
and I
zero.
are from the same area in
Literally the same
Connecticut.
county in
Sorry,
Connecticut.
sorry to hear
county.
that for both of you guys.
If
Yeah.
you look up the worst county in Connecticut, that's where we're from.
And so like if I'm home, I meet people and whatnot, and
No disrespect, New London County.
yeah. So my aunt has been in the business for years. Her thing is she sold Taylor Swift that big
Yeah.
house over in Rhode Island.
By the way, I'll tell you a story on that if you want.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter 'cause it's already closed. You want me to jump
Yeah,
in?
of course.
So Tim's aunt, who I met when I first started my career at Sotheby's, big time agent for Sotheby's for that part of Connecticut, does really well. She had this internet lead, and it was Taylor Swift's dad.
Yeah.
It was through the Sotheby's website. And she, met, they ended up wanting to buy this house in Watch Hill, which is in Rhode Island. So Connecticut, Rhode Island border, people will look on both sides of the border. She was looking for something very specific on the water, and this house in Watch Hill, Rhode Island pops
Yeah.
up. Well, she wasn't licensed in Rhode Island. And she did this $17 million deal. It's her claim to fame.
Yeah.
The agent, this is a true story, the agent that ended up putting the deal under his name got $10,000 on a $17 million deal. He had the license. I
Yeah.
won't say his name. He had the license. He was in my office. So they came to him and like, Jane's got this big deal. We need you to use your license. So he put his license on the deal.
Yeah.
Signed for $10,000. He didn't have to do anything. Got $10,000.
Yeah.
And Jane got the rest of the commission unlicensed.
He's a very generous guy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So Jane.
Very generous. Because I would have been like, yeah,
Yeah.
25% at least.
50.
Yeah.
But
She had
that-
the relationship
But that's what's cool
off
is
of the internet lead.
So my Aunt Jane is like, a boss when it comes to doing real estate, and she built her business when she built it. When I got my license, I reached out to her, and I was in Texas, so I kind of wish I was at home. Maybe I could have just started working for her, but I was in Texas, and she said, "Hey,
You wouldn't have lasted a
I know, you know me, wouldn't have been a good fit for me." But she said, "Hey, you got to connect with Byron," because she knew that the way she built her business was not the way I was going to build mine.
Yes.
And so she connected me with you. But going back to what I was saying is I go to Connecticut, and I'm like, yeah, my aunt is Jane Macy, and people maybe know her, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good friends with Byron Lazine, and I've never had somebody speak negatively about you, but I can just tell like there's
I
like,
know someone
oh,
that-
Byron, yeah,
not from your aunt.
no, not from my aunt, but
She might have said, I don't.
but you can tell like
my business the
locally,
way he
I'm
does or
sure
whatever,
you're thought of as like a no nonsense guy who's going to get a deal done.
Yeah.
You're not like, I don't, tell me if I'm wrong, you're not like best friends with a bunch of people.
Probably
in your
most
market.
of the agents that you were talking to, they probably never did a deal with me anyways, but
Yeah.
I do hard takes on video, and I've been
Yeah.
doing them since
Yeah.
the start of my career.
Yeah.
It used to be Facebook. I'd take a hard take, put it out on video.
Yeah.
Now it's like the Instagram Reels and the TikToks, hook, some type of quick close. And they're usually 50-50 takes,
Yeah.
where 50% of the people are like so like on board with it, and then 50% of the people are like, no, I like part-time agents. They're really respectful people, right?
Yeah.
And so they're on the other side.
That's not true,
of
by the
whole
way.
thing.
They
So
don't
look,
respect their
listen.
clients by giving them part-time service. We
Listen,
can talk about that later.
This is a good. I think this is a good segue for you to make me pitch real, because I know you're going to do it.
No, we're gonna do that later in the pod.
Oh,
You
come
can't
on,
just
it's a
jump
good-
right into your pitch right now.
I'm just saying it's good. Listen, I don't love
You don't
doing
know when
this
that
on a-
pyramid opportunity is going to come up. You need to practice that fork and knife
Yeah, no,
routine.
no.
I mean,
I don't
that's
like-
a
Why would this
closer.
be a great time to pitch real? This is not a great time.
This is not the platform that I like talking about it, but if you're going to make me do it,
yeah,
I
but
would say
we're
do
gonna-
it now.
We're gonna do it later in the pod.
All right.
We-
I can wait. It's
You
your
don't get-
it's your
you don't-
show. It's your
Yes, you're right. It is right. So
It's not my show.
show. All right. So what do you want to talk about?
you don't. Well, I mean, which direction you want to go before we make them pitch real?
Let's just get the pitch out of the way. Let's do it.
No. We got to wait on the pitch.
If
Let's
you
wait on
let
the pitch.
if you let me do the pitch now, that would be me
In the
taking
comments-
too much control of the show. So Byron is taking a stand right now, saying we got to do.
So
it.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You were at EXP and went to Real, and obviously you made a move there. So, like, what are the differentiators? Because I think a lot
Look.
of people they look at these companies as all being the same. I mean, there's a ton of them out there, and there's more knockoffs coming,
Yeah.
right? And so, what?
That's true. There is.
And so, I mean, there's going to be more of these companies, just
So-
like discount brokers and everybody else. Not
Yeah,
that you're a
so-
discount broker.
So here's the deal. Like, EXP figured out the brilliant model, right? And
the economic split model. Or
yeah, but
revenue share.
giving
model.
Explain
agents-
that for people who don't know what the model.
So when
is.
you're at EXP, you have your split, you got your fees, just like everybody else, right? And then you have stock bonuses available to you based on production, and you're selling houses you can buy into the stock program. You bring an agent on, you get stock. So they took all these things that high performing agents tend to do anyways, right? Like high performing agents tend to bring other agents to the company. High performing agents sell more, and so they set up these things where if you do well, you'll get more stock in the company, and then if you do well, you'll probably bring agents on, you'll get revenue share. And so they essentially, in my opinion, and this is where we have
Anybody that
interesting-
really doesn't know, these were Keller Williams former agents.
He was
that-
so Glenn was like a mega team leader.
Glenn
at
was
KW.
Yeah,
a
mega
team lead at
KW.
KW, and then I think he kind of figured out which
and most
listen,
people obviously know that. They're
And
listening to this
KW
pod.
had
Profit
the
share.
original profit share. Like that was
Yeah.
because they were a disruptor. I mean, I think it's
Yeah.
funny is that like even Remax was a disruptor in the 80s.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they keep coming. So keep going.
So the disruption around it is, look, like if you're a team leader at a brokerage, you're an agent at a brokerage, you're paying for an office whether or not you're actually paying for an office, right? Because if you have an office, like agents are paying for that. So you're looking at the office, you're looking at the training, you're looking at all the stuff, and then you're like, wait a second. Like as an agent, I think agents are the ones that drive value at all of the brokerages. I think the team leaders are the ones driving all the value. The best training is all provided by agents. And here, it's like, okay, well, I'll go build my business there. I'll deliver value in an environment that if I help agents succeed, I own stock in the company. And so that helps the stock price come up. And so the model of giving agents stock and revenue share is the model that I think, in my biased opinion, is better than any of the models out there, because it better compensates the agent and the value they're delivering. That's what's funny for me being at this conference, because I've spent the last year just being at agent events, and to come here and hear the CEOs of all these big companies talking.
All of them, all the big ones talked at this.
It's really interesting, and I love listening to them. I love trying to process, because they're all like saying things without saying things, right, and trying to figure out what they're actually saying. But it's crazy to me, the disconnect between the problems that they're talking about and then what I see at the agent level when we're actually out at
Very few hit on the actual agent and team lead problems. I agree with that. I mean, that was something that a couple people brought it up and mentioned it, but some of them are like, oh, we got to fix this stuff. I'm like, guys, that's not even like close to being the issue that we see on the day-to-day.
Well, what Nick said on the pod, the CEO of Remax, Nick said on this pod and on stage,
the boogeyman
here, was that there's not one economic model that's going to attract 1.5 plus million real estate agents to the company. None of these companies, it's not a zero sum. They're not getting all of the agents to switch over to that company, because people will factor in. It's not about the economics. People are going to factor in culture, who they're going to be working with, where some are still even today going to factor in a physical office location, less I think than probably 5 years ago, but there are still some factoring that in. Legacy brands in certain high-end markets are going to get factored in a little bit. So there's all these other factors. But to your point, the reason EXP is at 80,000 right now is because they figured out a better mousetrap for recruiting, and they didn't have any overhead with the offices.
Yeah, I mean, when you do look at the CEOs up there, and you look at Glenn, it's like Glenn Sanford's the only CEO to grow his company, double his company in the year, right? Like, they're all talking about
agent count from 40,000 to 80,000.
Yeah, and then also in revenue and all the other
and everything
numbers.
Else follows. Yeah.
But I mean, none of the other companies up there are even close as far as like in that growth. And so I think that says that this model is something that's very valuable and important to look at. And now, like you said, talking about, there's going to be other things coming. What I think is interesting, and I left a lot on the table when I left EXP, and EXP's model is great for retention as well.
That's the downside. If you leave somewhere like EXP, you're literally leaving stock that hasn't converted.
Yep.
It's think of it as being in the cloud. This stock is not in your pocket yet.
As vesting periods.
It's not vested.
Yeah.
You got to stay a certain amount of time. Tim left that on the table when he left to go.
And then I also had a bunch of agents, right?
Yeah.
So that's a group of agents that I'd spent time building, and all that. And all of them had stock. So I wasn't.
Some left, some didn't.
So, yeah, most of them weren't going to come with me. So it was a lot to leave on the table. But what I think I realized was that, so much of the value is in the model. And that, like Nick Bailey was talking about, there's going to be different spots for different people. And for us, I just think we have a much different vibe, a much different culture, a much different view on technology. We are the model that we know works, but we just have a lot different take on a bunch of other stuff. And so the reason why I wanted to segue is because you were talking about how, a lot of your opinions are 50-50, right? 50% of the people agree with 50% of people don't.
A lot of them are, yeah.
For me, you guys give me a hard time about, recruiting all the time. Like, we really do things. We try to like help our people out. We try to take our culture and put a megaphone in front of it, not to say come join us, but just to be louder, saying this is who we are. And we find that people that are our DNA, people that are our people, are coming to work with us, right? Like, you joke like, oh, all your friends are at Real now. Like, kind of, you know what I mean? Because we're all like kind of that same DNA, that same culture.
Culture matters, though.
Yeah.
I think people are like attracts like, right? So, I mean, I think there is all those people on stage there, and even the big companies that weren't on stage, they all have a little bit of a different culture to them.
Exactly.
I mean, you think about, some of the, I'll put Compass out there as a big disruptor, especially they've recruited a lot of people. My view is people go to Compass because they think it looks cool working there, and that attracts a certain kind of agent.
Yeah.
I work at Remax. We have kind of an older demographic, but they attract someone that wants to be super productive and not a lot of management and kind of do their own thing. So KW facilitates like mega teams. Like there's
Yep.
all these different avatars out there, no different than what we have for our teams that we recruit to.
The agent that is going to Compass, to your point, would likely never go to EXP. I don't know the stat on this. I'm just kind of throwing this out there as a guess. There probably have not been a lot of agents that have switched from Compass to EXP, because what brought them to Compass is what you're talking about, the
Yep.
look and the feel of the brand, and EXP lacks all of that when you just look at them, as a brand and the way they market and their colors and their, Compass is very slick and it looks cool. Even their signs look cool. Like everything about them looks cool.
Great brand. I like, whatever you want to say about them. Whoever did that branding, they knew what they were doing.
But what a lot of Compass agents will say, well, no, it's not just that, because it's like you don't want to be like, oh,
Sounds simple. Yeah.
It's not that simple. I didn't just go there because they got a cool, slick brand. Their technology is outstanding. What I'll say to every agent listening, every team leader listening,
I know what you're going to say, and I totally agree.
There's not a single broker that has the great technology of our time. There's not a single broker that's created a great piece of technology that stacks up to Zillow or Redfin. It just doesn't exist.
Or even Boomtown.
Exactly.
Like all the other technology that we buy.
Technology companies are building great technology, where the brokers all have probably just about equal technology.
I agree with that.
And it's about who's, how are you utilizing it
yeah.
as the agent or the team leader?
Well, think about Gary Keller, right? And I'm a big fan of his. Love when he's very dynamic, one of the top 3 speakers today, and he recorded his session. And it was that good. Remember a couple years
probably
ago?
The best.
He was talking about, we've got the best tech, we've got AI.
Didn't mention it.
Where has that been since 2019? Because he said that. We were there in the room. It's been 3 years. I haven't seen it. If I had AI, I'd be showing that thing off like a prize-winning dog at the Westminster Dog Show. It's like you got to put that out there. And it's just he didn't say it because you know what? It's the same thing everyone else has.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not unique.
Yeah. I agree.
And when you look at what Gary was talking about before, he was like, we got to own the data. We're going to own the data. We're going to have the data. And I think at some point you realize it's like, look, everybody's going to have the data.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
there's one company that has actually the real data. You know what it is? Zillow. Because they have dot loop. They can get real-time updates.
And showing time.
And they have data that no one else can get to. And that's the difference.
This is the fun part, because you guys are on these big, successful teams. I don't. I think I think, too, though, that I have a different view on things. Like, I think when you look at Zillow, you guys are both Zillow partners, so you're either going to partner up with the beast and know that they're going to own that space and take what they're going to give you and crush it. And everybody likes to complain about Zillow. For me, I don't think Zillow is ever going to be a brand that people feel a personal connection to.
I agree there. I'm just saying they're a company that has access to a lot more data than other places.
Hold on, explain, because do you feel like you have a personal connection to Google?
Look, no, here's my thing.
You're still going to go to Google, not an encyclopedia.
I think that people love the opportunity to buy from people, because we do live in a very disconnected world. So I was in Mystic, Connecticut, right? My wife loves, the Persian rugs, and we go to some store there, find one we like. I talk the guy down to $350 or $400 or something. I love it because he starts at like $800. I talk him down. I'm gonna get the deal. We're gonna buy this thing.
Did you get a commission?
Take it home. What's that?
Did you get a commission?
So
his commission was 50% off.
But my wife walks out. She's like, no, I don't like it here. Like, we're in this weird store, and like I feel icky. I'm out of here. So I go on a business trip. I come back, and there's this beautiful Persian rug in our bedroom. The thing is, I'm like, oh, so you finally did the thing. It was like $900, right? And she bought it from the girl on Instagram that she follows.
Yeah.
Because she follows this girl on Instagram. She loves being like following this girl and seeing all the pretty rugs. But not only that, she wanted to buy from her, right? Like she wanted that person,
even if it costs an extra $400.
Exactly, because she wanted to be a part of what that thing is. And so for me, it's like building those personal brands that people follow, they're inspired by, they're connected by. That's why we talk so much about the video marketing. Like, that is what Zillow will never do.
Right.
And I think Zillow will get all the business from people that haven't found their agent that they love, inspired by, and follow.
13% only use the agent.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the number.
Here's the problem, though, with that, Tim, is that almost 3 out of 4 buyers, home shoppers, are using the Zillow app. So if you are a big team or you're trying to run a scale business, an independent brokerage or what have you, why would you only focus on brand and ignore 3 out of 4 home shoppers in your marketplace?
So again, this goes back to like the different perspectives. I've just seen it work, right? Like we talk about Jeremy Knight in Austin. He's just a dude making videos on YouTube that's going to pass 100 million this year, right?
Yes.
My dude Brad McCallum in Calgary totally took over the
best listing videos on
best
Planet
listing
Earth,
videos
according
Planet
to
Earth.
BAM.
Right? Totally
Better than Tim Smith?
That's a BAM exclusive.
Better than Tim Smith.
That's a I would say in Canada then.
Well, no, I would
Planet
say
Earth of Canada.
I'd say.
I'm a huge
Tim Smith's pretty good, too.
I'm a huge Tim Smith fan.
Yeah.
But I don't think he comes close to putting out the volume that Brad does every week, every listing.
No, he does.
Does he?
Well,
Maybe I don't follow.
The dollar
enough.
volume, I'm sure, is much higher for what Tim Smith
but
is
Tim
doing.
puts an extreme amount of volume.
So
out there.
my point is that he took over the luxury market on YouTube, and I know 3 out of 4 home buyers are using TikTok. using Zillow. But my question
out
is,
of 100 are using
100
TikTok.
out of 100 are using TikTok. 100 out of 100 are on YouTube. And so I do think, people for sure are using the Zillow app. But as we become more disconnected as humans, I think more and more people are looking for the opportunity to actually transact with human beings. That's why I think influencer marketing is such a growing thing. And I think, we should be doing more of it in the real estate industry.
The numbers are up. People using an agent versus for sale by owner. So in the NAR home buyer study of 2021, that was true. What you're saying, that those numbers are up. People want to work with people. They want an agent.
And I'm not discounting the monster that Zillow is, because we were talking a lot about this before. Today, Richard there said they're focusing a ton on instant showings. And what I see them doing is trying to squish the agent value down as much as they possibly can to being like, agent opens the door, shows the house, and then they plug into Zillow's super app. They keep talking about the super app. So I do see that play in the future.
What you said to me, though, I think would be very enticing to a lot of buyers. If Tom shows me a house and I walk in, and at the end of the tour, it pops up on my app, my Zillow app, as the buyer, what do you think of the property? I put real-time feedback in where I don't have to give it to Tom, and Tom puts the feedback in, and then a button pops up, make offer now, and I just press button, and I start, filling out the template. That does seem like a pretty nice experience for an agent. Now, for a buyer, what I'll say is I don't think the agent's value is in taking a templated contract and putting e-signatures into the templated contract.
Well, Redfin tried that, though.
Yeah.
They had that 72-question survey where you could write offers without an agent on their listings. And the reasons it doesn't work in certain markets, and this varies, like where we are, you get a stucco inspection, right? Buyers don't even know what that is half the time. Inspecting a septic system, right?
Yeah.
We were just talking about this. Or
I
like
actually
a well.
I think the inspection stuff, Tom, not to jump in, it can get worked out where those questions can get answered.
Okay.
Where it gets tricky is, the seller, before the dog didn't crap all over the yard, now it's a week later, the dog crapped all over the yard. Who's going to pick that up? The seller now wants 2 more weeks before closing.
and
Who's
I'm
going to talk him off the ledge?
So
now they want to chip off 0.25% of the commission.
Yeah.
Now this one, and people's emotions and BS and all their family drama gets dumped into this deal. And the lender said what and who, and you just bought a car. It's all of that.
But I
problem.
think this tees up, right? Like, I think this tees up when you look at what Zillow was talking about at the last T360 or over the last couple of years. And I say that's what their plan is. I'm not saying it's going to work and they're going to totally take over the industry and that they're the Death Star and we should all be worried. I just think that's the plan. I will say they took on iBuying like there was no tomorrow, right? They went out and bought as many houses as they could. They did all this stuff. What they underestimated was the complexity around buying houses. And we just closed on a Zillow-owned home. We had clients sell homes to Zillow, so I'm very familiar with the process, and they just underestimated the complexity of, there being a soft spot in the carpet over there, and, there being like, some cracks in the walls that they didn't see or whatever, and they lost a bunch of money, right? They thought they could make something simple that they can't make simple. So I agree. They are going to try to do that with the transaction, but I think they're underestimating all the stuff that you guys are talking about, because you can have it all happen through the app, but the fact is there's so many things emotionally that happen in a transaction.
Service related.
Yeah.
I got to move this out of there by this day. It's just all these. Listen, I think the stat, you may know it off the top of your head. It's, 212 text messages from like under contract to closing between agent and
Yeah,
I don't, but it's a high number.
Yeah.
And I mean,
it's hundreds of text messages. That doesn't include the phone calls and the emails and the personal
this
meetings.
is for like flex leads that are supposed to be the most bottom of the funnel leads too.
Yeah.
And I mean,
yeah, but they're still people.
well, and
You
they
know?
have questions, and you're saying
Yeah.
the inspections get worked out. I would maybe say some of them can, some of them can't.
Yep.
Like we were talking about, he's got a septic system abutting a property on some property he's trying to sell.
Encroachment stuff, yeah.
Like, well, what happens if you can't perk the lot, and then all of a sudden there's 10 different kinds of septic? There's not 10, but like which one do you put in? And the solutions there on inspection. Think how many times you had to explain to somebody like it's the negotiations and the expertise. I'm not saying what to elect and whatnot, but it's instead how to get through that and help someone make the logical decision that's right for them versus the illogical decision that a lot of human beings default to because emotion gets in the way.
Yeah, definitely not discounting inspections, especially in the Northeast where you can have
100-year-old homes.
a 100-year-old home next to a brand new house. South Florida, where you have brand new communities, 5-year-old communities, they're all the same floor plan. I mean, the last house I bought in Florida, I did not even inspect because it was
and I would do that too for the right
5
home.
years old. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, and I wouldn't advise that to a buyer out there, but for me.
Can we talk about that? How we pay the least attention to our own transactions? Like I'm like heartbroken over and trying to do all stressed out about my buyer buying a house, and then I buy a house. I'm like, yeah, I don't need an inspection. It's whatever, fine.
You know
cool.
why? Because you know what you're doing is the right thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well, because you got such a great deal, you're like, let's
Whatever.
just get to the closing table.
yeah.
You're only
getting
buying
the
great
house
deals.
right now is the good deal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we moved 2 years ago. My wife didn't even see the house till we got to the inspection period.
Yeah.
And you've met her a couple times.
Oh, my wife didn't see the house. I don't believe. Well, maybe a week before closing, I got her in.
This house was on the market 2 years before we bought it. She saw it online and said she hated it every time it would come up. And then it came off the market, and that's when we swooped in and got it. And now she's like, "Oh my God, it is such a dream living here." And I'm like, "Yeah. I've sold a couple houses before. Like, I understand what we're doing." But you do that because it's no different than the stock trader who knows when it's time to make a good trade. He doesn't have to talk. The gut feeling and the instincts are real, and you can't replace that from 21 years in the business, however long you guys have been doing it. That's where Zillow's going to fall short.
Bought my first house at 19 years old. So
I was 22, same thing.
I like, if I know what I'm doing now when I buy a house and I move on it quick if it's the right deal. Let's switch gears before you give us the real pitch. Do you need an agent hack?
Yeah.
All right, so
we do agent hacks.
Hold on. Tim's got 1,000. How many agents? Let's frame this up.
Right about 1,300.
1,300 in his downline at Real, and you're doing a whole bunch for them.
Yeah, I don't love like
you're doing a lot of training and inspirational. So Tom, let's squeeze an agent hack out of Tim. See how good he is on adding value.
We've done
to these
over
agents.
200 of these. Nick Bailey gave us a amazing one.
Yes.
We've got some other great ones. Tom Ferry's done this. Some other people. You get on your next training for Real, and you say, guys, this will get you a deal in the next 30 days. Do this. What is it?
Man, one, you could have prepped me. I could have known that.
You're supposed to be working in the business. You just
You
talked
got
about
13
your instincts.
I know.
What
I got too many
1,300
things.
agents under you. What do you say?
Listen, I'm not like I don't tell people that. All right, so you're like out blasting everywhere. Like that's not like a thing I publicize. But anyways,
Well, I just publicized it all over.
That should be the title of the podcast.
Yeah.
1,300 agents.
1,300 agents.
Report
and
directly
counting.
to Tim.
Bobby, write that down.
oh my goodness, yeah, I'm gonna get
So
in trouble.
agent hack, what do you
All
got?
right, listen, I don't have a go get a deal tomorrow.
What advice do you have for agents? In all seriousness,
I can tell you, we just got done with the real estate video blueprint plug. That was a fantastic event all about video for real estate. And in my position now, I really sit back and look at who's doing video, and everybody's doing something. And there's a bunch of people with a bunch of followers, but I have to dig in to the next level and say which one of these people with 30,000 followers, 1 million followers, which of them's strategy is actually generating business, which is a whole other conversation. And so you can take my work of just constantly dissecting what people are doing and figuring out what's getting them most results. And I will tell you, hands down, across the board, I love short form vertical. I think TikTok and Reels is definitely the place to be. What's funny is I don't think there's like a middle ground much anymore. You're either doing long form horizontal YouTube or you're doing short form vertical. Like there's not a ton of room for the 2-minute listing video anymore.
Or you're doing both and ripping out
no,
short form
exactly,
vertical
exactly.
of your long.
That's what we're doing. Yeah.
But I will tell you, the biggest businesses that I'm seeing from social media are almost all built on YouTube. But YouTube is a long play. And when I say long play, I mean 6 months to a year, which when you look at the business it generates and how that does over time, like it's nothing, but when you're starting out, it seems like a lot of work. And so like Jeremy Knight's one I keep referencing. And the reason I reference Jeremy Knight is Brad
He's a real agent.
No, happens to be.
No way.
But the reason I reference Jeremy Knight is like Brad McCallum, also real agent. Some of the best listing videos in the industry.
Yes.
He is like an artist.
Yeah,
he looks
is.
great on camera. He's got a personality that I look at in a very small percentage of the agents that I know can replicate that. And so I love shining
I could
the
never
spotlight.
do what Brad does.
Right, you can never do what he does.
No.
And then I look at a guy like Ken Pozek in Orlando, which he's not at Real, so there you go. He's a Keller Williams guy. If you look at what he's done, highly informational content and whatnot, he's done it at a super high, amazing level. I think the guy's going to do $300 million this year just off of YouTube in the Orlando market. I mean, not just, but like that's the foundation. But when you look at Jeremy Knight, and I say this as, I'm good friends with Jeremy. I love the guy. When I watch his videos and I watch what he's done, I see something that I think a lot of other agents can replicate because he's just, he's not like some amazing artist. He doesn't, Ken Pozek is crazy intelligent. Not that Jeremy's not, but you know what I mean? Like I see a ton of agents could go out there and commit to doing what Jeremy
what's
Knight
he
has
doing?
done.
Well, Jeremy's stuff is something that I actually think I could pull off in a local
easy.
market because it's more my style. Like sit down, maybe do like a green screen image of a local community or a piece of news in your community.
Yep.
And he's basically news broadcasting Austin, Texas.
So the biggest thing that Jeremy's been able to do, which is the key to success on YouTube, is he's gotten out of realtor brain and he's sat in the seat of a consumer on YouTube and figured out what topics to talk about. So, he's in Austin. Austin has a bunch of people moving from California to Austin. And if you were to search moving to Austin from California, right?
He's got a video that's over 250,000 on that.
Okay.
But my point is, if I told a room full of realtors, say, write down some video topic ideas for people moving from California to Austin, I would get best things to do in Austin, best restaurants in Austin, best neighborhoods in Austin, reasons why you should move to Austin, right? Those are all the realtor ideas. Jeremy's video is huge regret moving from Austin to California.
So we were talking about this strategy last night. So I actually am a big believer in this. We're doing the same thing in our team right now.
Yeah.
Also, the California thing is such a hot button. Like Taya, we were talking about California Exodus. Bobby remembers the Taya pod. Those TikTok clips went over 1 million views just talking about California Exodus because it, like, even if you weren't from California, the comment section was insane.
So many people have an opinion about it.
Oh, it was insane.
But my point is that as agents, and I think this is industry-wide across a lot of things, we have such a disconnect between what the consumer actually wants. Like, I think it was Gino was talking about maybe...
Gino Blafari, CEO of BHHS.
Was it him that was talking about it?
Home
Who
services.
was talking about listing agent leads? Or was that Nick?
Nick.
Nick was talking about it. How us as realtors think that leads on a listing should go to the listing agent.
And that's dead on arrival because the listing agent doesn't call back right away.
Yeah.
And
Kidding me?
it's speed
that's what Nick
to
said.
lead.
But that is a huge disconnect between what realtors think and what the consumer thinks. Consumer doesn't care. Just give me the information.
Sometimes the consumer may not want the listing agent. They want their own person representing them.
So we have a big disconnect with realtor. What is it? What's where everybody thinks the same thing? Hive mind, right? Realtor hive mind and actual consumer thought. And we have it with marketing too. That's why, I mean, a couple times it came up like at our thing, like nobody cares about your market update. We have to, and you're going to get the comment sections that's like, I do a market update and 4 people called me. Overwhelmingly.
There's some people killing it on market updates, so I would disagree that nobody cares.
But the frame around it's got to be, here's what's happening in the market, and here's what it means for you, the consumer. And that's the message
you have
a
to
lot
have
of people
a hook
don't
to
put
it.
out there.
I'm just to get eyeballs on it. You can have the
Exactly.
best written book in the world, but if you don't market it correctly, it's not a New York Times bestseller.
So from a marketing standpoint, exactly. Like people don't want to hear the stats. They want to know your opinion. They want, I think as realtors, we need to become better storytellers.
They have to get hooked into consume the stat to begin with.
So just overwhelmingly, I think when we think about our video topics and we think about what we're doing on our marketing, we're doing it from this weird realtor mindset, and we're not just putting our butt in the seat of the consumer and saying, what's a topic in a thumbnail on YouTube that people that are interested in moving to my market can't help but click on?
So there's your agent hack. Put your butt in the consumer seat.
Well, you know what the challenge is with a lot of this? There's so many new realtors that have gotten into the business, and a lot of them have not gone through a real estate transaction.
Yeah.
It's a problem. They're like, oh, you shouldn't worry about this. Well, would you worry about it if you bought a house? Oh, well, I didn't think about it. I mean, they just don't. There's no empathy there.
Over 50% of agents haven't done a transaction in the last 12 months. And
so you know what's fun about YouTube is, so I go back to Jeremy. Listen, I just got done building his presentation with him, so I've seen all his numbers. I've seen all his back-end stuff. And he's got don't quote me here, it's something like 23,000 hours of watch time a month. And that means every minute on average, there's 8 people watching his YouTube channel.
Yeah, you can't duplicate that.
You can't beat that.
Yeah.
Great hack.
But that's the thing, though, when you talk about agents that haven't done a deal and all this other stuff. If you are good at your job and you do know what you're talking about, like you have a responsibility.
I agree with this.
To put the content out so people can be educated by you instead of somebody else. And the obvious benefit of that is you'll get more business. But like you said, there's so many bad agents in the industry. If you're not doing your job on social media, they're going to get more business that you should be getting.
And most people are going to go with the first agent they meet anyway. It's over 70% of consumers hire the first agent they meet. And it's not the consumer's job to know you're doing a lot of business. It's your job to get it out there. And what you said really rings home for me. I feel like it's a disservice to the consumer when we don't reach out to them, because if they hire a bad agent, it can hurt them financially.
Yep.
Period.
All right, let's get to the pitch here. So
great agent hack. That was good.
That was a great agent hack. But this is going to be a quick, real pitch. If you want to drop off now, I don't blame you. Just make sure you subscribe to the Broke Agent subscribe to Broke Agent Media on YouTube before you drop off, or leave a 5-star review on Spotify if you're listening, or Apple, and then you can drop off if you'd like, if you don't want to hear this pitch. But for those of you that want to hear the real value of the real brokerage pitch,
we're getting real,
from the man himself with the largest downline in the entire company,
maybe,
Tim,
I don't know,
tell myself,
the largest pyramid, and
Tom Toole why we should be at Real.
One, like you guys are making my skin crawl right now, because I don't know if I have the biggest.
What a way to start a pitch.
I don't think size
skin crawl.
Size
He's
matters.
already alienated us,
I'm out.
Tom.
Listen, people looking for a great pitch should be alienated, because I think that we're building what we're building. We are building it on the revenue share and stock model, which I try not to have too strong of an opinion on a lot of things, because I think there's plenty of sides to every story. But I can't argue with the fact that stock and rev share is the best model out there in real estate.
What's a 1, 2, 3 way for someone to understand what the heck you just said?
Yeah.
Stock and revenue.
Well, when agents get stock and revenue share in a company, they're invested in building a company. You get more collaboration. Agents actually own a portion of the company, so they can be more invested in the company's
How do I
success.
get a revenue check every month, and how do I get stock? And
So-
the stock, by the way, is on the NASDAQ. Tim failed to
so
bring
it's
that
publicly
up.
traded.
So it's publicly traded.
And then I did want to hit on, because we were talking about stuff.
Well,
No, it's
kinda
still
divert that
along the
question.
lines.
How do
So
I
you
get
get-
revenue, and how do I get stock? How do I
Sure.
get it in my Coinbase account?
In how many agents do you think are at Ravis because of the work you've done?
The work I've done?
Yeah.
Well, probably the agents on my team.
You don't think anybody else joined Ravis because you were there?
Oh, I know. Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
So I think
people have left my company because I've been there.
So overwhelmingly, look,
I'm not kidding about that.
overwhelmingly, look, I think if you're a good agent, you're out there, you're doing your business, you're selling houses, I think overwhelmingly people join your company because of you.
Yeah.
If you're at Real, we have revenue share. EXP also has a revenue share. KW has profit share. So when you come over, company shares some of the revenue that they get from that agent with you. And now, like you're invested in their success. On the same hand,
So a percentage of the split that's going to the company goes to the agent that brought the other agent on in the rev share model.
yeah, but
So like a finder's fee that keeps paying.
yeah, and so
In perpetuity.
so that is great, and it wants me to help you, right? But what is bigger than that is the stock side of things. Because now, like, listen, I'm on these Zoom calls every week helping out agents from all over the company, in my downline, not in my downline. Like, we're just trying to help agents in the company and build this company to be the biggest, best thing there is. And the reason is, well, because I also own stock. And so when you give agents stock in the company, I go speak at our event or I go do stuff. I'm going to do stuff for the company. Well, it's like, yeah, like the guy in Utah, not in my down, like I still want him to do well because I want our company to do well and I want everything else to do well so that stock price goes up because I own way too many shares of our stock. I am not diversified. But yeah, I mean, that was supposed to be funny.
Well, it wasn't very funny.
No,
Laugh riot over
right?
there.
Like, so I just that structure aligns incentives for the people that matter most, which are the agents. It aligns the incentives of the agents to help other agents to build a company that's bigger. That's why EXP has gone from 40 to 80,000 agents as fast as they have is because of that structure. The reason, though, why I do think people are going to adapt. I do think people are going to adjust and try to do some things. But I don't think people realize how big of a barrier of entry it is to build something like this. Because, I mean, look, I know this is the model that is the thing of the future. Like, why don't we just all get together and do it ourselves, right?
Yeah, well, because to that point, EXP was a first mover.
Yeah.
Real has done a pretty good job of getting
Momentum.
on your back, 4,000 plus agents. For there be a third player, I don't know. You got Coca-Cola, now you got Pepsi. I don't know if you're going to get a third player.
The bigger
in
thing
there.
is you have to get into enough states where you're somewhat of a national brokerage. So
Yeah.
we kind of took off at 22 agents.
State by state is a long grind.
Right? Not an easy thing to do. And then you have to become publicly traded.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you're giving agents stock, that's great. Like Compass was giving people stock before they were publicly traded. But it's not really as juicy if I don't really know what that stock's worth and if I can't sell it. So you have to get a national company that's publicly traded. Like the three of us couldn't just get together and make that happen, right? So there's a pretty big barrier to entry to even accomplish this model. And so I think that'll limit competition a little bit as well.
And what Nick Bailey said, what he articulated on this pod and then on the stage, was that model is not for every single agent. So why would there be a third company when you already have two options that are doing it successfully?
Yeah, and then when, look, I know you're going to ask it, so I'm just going to hit it now. Like, why Real over EXP? Which is a question that I get all the time.
Tim Macy, why Real over EXP?
So-
Clip it, answer it.
One, I will say, like we saw Glenn downstairs, like Glenn changed my
Yeah,
life.
we did.
Yeah. You want to tell that
for
story?
another podcast.
No.
But look, Glenn did a bunch of amazing things for me. EXP did a bunch of amazing things for me. So I have nothing negative to say about EXP. I will say,
don't clip it. This answer is terrible.
I will say for us, I just think we're building something different on the same model. And so if you are an agent,
So what's different? Because and not to be a hater, but you hear this all the time. We're building something different, and I know you believe this. I'm not.
For sure.
Let's articulate it.
yeah, I think we're building a more collaborative atmosphere and a different culture. And I know that's also vague, but we also know how important culture is.
Culture can be
So,
different. I don't disagree there.
We did a video event, last weekend. It's just fresh in my mind. And, it was like $400 a ticket, right? $450 a ticket. We had a bunch of people from different, like a lot of us from Real, but different downlines, different people from different
Broke
places.
agent was there?
Broke agent was there. Different brokerages, right? It was a.
I heard Eric was the best talk of the.
Yeah, we could have another discussion about that. But
Are you saying you were better than the broke agent?
Well,
No,
I
you
hosted.
MC, he
I was
MC.
hosting. So my point is, I think it's just a different culture, and maybe it's because it's early and everybody's excited because it's early, but it's definitely a different culture. It's a different set of people, and I'm big on people. I think the people you work with is more important than where you work.
The people in your crew have a fun vibe to them, Brad and Katie,
Right.
and Jeremy's not that fun of a guy. Just want to stick it to Jeremy.
We would
real
do
quick.
horribly in this company because we are not fun at all, the two of us. It's all business all the time.
So that's my point. When you ask me what I mean, I think if you are interested in making a move in your career brokerage wise, you're obviously looking at the model, right? Like you have to look at EXP, you have to look at Real, you have to look
I'd
at.
say a lot of agents switch and don't ever look at it right now.
So, well, I think you should obviously.
Of course
But-
you do. You're incentivized to think that.
So you're going to look at the numbers, and our numbers are tweaked a little bit different than theirs, but it's pretty comparable. I think what you need to look at is the people and say, is this a brand? Is this a culture? Are these values that I align with? Or is this a brand? Is this culture? Are these values that I align with? And I'm just big on
I hope you can get these people to an event if this is your pitch because it sounds like the people are the better sell.
Well, yeah, I mean that's.
I'm being very serious.
I'll be honest. Like I would never try to like recruit anybody on a podcast. Like I want them to come, see what we do, see how we do it, get a feel for our family and what we have going on. And if it's the right fit for them, then they should by all means join. But like you said, a lot of agents just move brokerages, and I don't like that at all because I want to make sure that people that come over here are successful. And if they're not our people, then what are they doing?
A lot of them do it when they're at the bottom of the roller coaster, meaning.
Yeah.
Emotionally.
Close six deals, have all of a sudden nothing under contracts. I didn't keep my pipeline coming in, and traditional brokerage X is offering me a $12,000 sign-on bonus, and I'm going to take it because I'm at the bottom of my roller coaster and I don't have any deals.
I could use the 12 grand.
And I could use the 12 grand, and they promised me flyers or mailers or whatever, and I'm going to go do that. And yeah, they don't look at anything else.
So I have had the conversation with a lot of agents, and I've usually told them like Coldwell Banker or KW because I don't think we're a great place for somebody that's like at the bottom rut there where they're, and they're looking for some magical thing to catapult them. I think we're somebody who's like on the ride up and feels like they want to, do more. Like maybe we're a place to let them break through that next thing. But yeah, again, I just want our people.
My thought is on if someone is listening to this and they really are considering the EXP model or the Real model, you better, if you're not a team leader, if you're thinking about it from a team leader perspective, that's a whole nother conversation. But if you're, my opinion, I know Tim's going to differ on this with me. My opinion is if you're a single agent, you better be joining a great operational team in your market that's on EXP or Real. Because I've talked to single agents at both of these companies, not in Tim's downline, to be fair, that are getting absolutely no support.
Yeah.
Because you are living in a virtual world. You do have a broker in your state that you can call, but that's about it. Other than that, you're out on your own. So these are companies to me that are designed for great, and teams have taken over the industry. So there's a lot of this going on, but they're designed for great teams.
Yeah.
To build their business.
My solo agents that are crushing it would disagree with you, but I understand it's like a macro view.
But
and I know you disagree.
You're giving the support because they're working with you. Because you're doing the right things. What he said was, if you're not working with someone like Tim and you're on an island, that's where the challenge is.
There have been people, thousands, that have been recruited into EXP or maybe less so Real, because you guys do have a tight knit little culture that's building, and it's small still. It's 4,000 agents, 5,000
agents. The goal
agents.
is no islands. That's our goal.
But 80,000 agents, there are a whole bunch of EXP agents that are lost in out of space because somebody recruited them into their downline.
Yeah.
They're not offering them support, and they're not part of a team, and so they're literally trying to figure it out on their own. At least if you're trying to figure it out on your own on a traditional brokerage, you have an infrastructure you can go plug into, and there is stuff that's built out for you to plug into if you take that option and take action on it.
The thing I would say is it's the same thing as like the broker technology. You
have to use it.
You have to use it.
Yeah.
And
Agreed,
I think most good brokerages, whether it's Compass, whether it's whatever, like most of them have some sort of culture and community. And it's usually a matter of whether agents plug into it, and then if they do plug into it, if it's their type of thing, you know? And so I think that's something agents get really caught up in the numbers, which are important when you're building a business. That just goes back for me, though, like the people. Like, honestly, how many of our friends in Tom Ferry are almost like exclusively there for the community, right? Because they love the community that Tom Ferry's built. I think you get so much out of it.
Very sticky.
Yeah, it's very sticky. And so when you're looking at brokerage, you got to do the numbers, you got to look at the stuff. But for me personally, the community wherever you go is very, very important.
Did that pitch move you at all, Tom? Were you?
Yeah, no, not you guys.
I'm unpitchable. So I mean, all fairness.
Hey, you know who that pitch moved? The type of person that should come work with us.
Well, here's the thing.
So that's pretty good. You got to know your avatar.
Yeah.
I mean, and you got to know what you're doing. I mean, I literally am unrecruitable.
Here's what I'll say. In all seriousness, you know, and if you've made it this far in the pod, you know I've kind of busted Tim up a little bit.
A little bit.
And
it's been a couple gut punches.
Been a roast.
Got a broken rib.
And we're friends, and so we've got a comfort level where I can do that. But in all seriousness, Tim, you are one of the most likable guys in our industry. A lot of people like you. They want to be around you. That's why you've been able to build a 1,300-person downline, because you do actually give back. People do really like you. And I bet you that the pitch, while it didn't land on Tom Toole's lap, it probably did land a lot of people like, wow, I want to be part of that. You use the word family. I want to be part of that family. So,
well, and it's no different than
you're
when
doing a good job.
Sorry, it's no different than when you recruit someone to join your team.
Yeah.
Or I recruit someone to join our team back in Philadelphia. It's got to speak to them, and if it's not going to speak to them, it's better if they don't join.
Yeah.
And you've got to know, like, your organization, our organization, it's not going to be for everybody. And that's probably the most important thing to realize, because, you know, someone comes works with us or works with you. It's definitely a lot more like, here's how to do a listing appointment. Here's the tactical skills, how to go sell a house. So
Tim just sent me the real papers with e-signature.
Yeah, right.
He just sent it.
Is it .loop? Because then Zillow's going to know too, and they're going to have a beat on it. You got to know who you're going after, and the fact that you guys know what you're looking for, that's what's going to make any organization great. Because the people that just add people to add people, they're the ones that get in trouble. There's
not a single person in that crew I don't like hanging out with, like masterminding with, learning from you guys. You guys are sharing with the whole industry as well.
Yeah.
Which and it's not like, hey, I'm sharing. What's great about what you're doing, Tim, is you're not sharing just to like get somebody in the back door. You're sharing, and you'll continue to do it. Me and you share information all the time. And so
I will say this: I was lucky enough. So I got out of the military, no idea what I was going to do in my life. Got my real estate license, started talking to you, and
sorry to hear that.
Right, and geez, what was the stupid like? I'm coming from the military, and then you get into real estate, and there's a lot of this personal development stuff, and there's a lot of this like metaphors like, you know, your network is your net worth, and I'm broke. I'm like, just because I hang around people with money isn't going to give me money. Like, you're full of crap, right? Like I was very negative towards a lot of the stuff I was hearing, but the whole help a million people, you'll be a millionaire thing, and just like if you only go for adding value and don't worry about the paycheck thing. I was lucky that light bulb went off early. And one, because I like to do it. Like when you look at your self-awareness crap, like I do like helping people. Like I have trouble, like you're complimenting me. Like I have trouble receiving compliments. Like that's part of my whatever personality. And so I just was lucky enough to find out that, yeah, I can just go out and help people without hoping for anything in return. And I get all this stuff in return. Like, it's crazy. And so I've really locked in on that and done it. So like you said, I will go talk about, you know, video marketing, because it's the only thing I really know about. I'll give that information to anybody. I'll help anybody out with that. I love talking about it. And I just know from the past couple of years that in one way, shape, or form, it'll come back to me tenfold in the long run.
Yeah, 100%. Really appreciate you, brother.
Well said, man.
The most likable guy in real estate after Brad McCullum. There you go.
All right, I like that. I'll take that. That's pretty
good
funny.
pod. Thanks, brother.